Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I know that I haven't posted in a while and I will talk about that in another video, but essentially I wrote a book. It took me all of NaNoWriMo to finish the book, and then I'm still working on the last chapter right now. So I am 400 pages into a book and it is going to be finished by the end of this week, but that's where I've been. I've just been holed up in my house, writing. And I've also been doing some stress reading. Today I'm catching up on my November 2nd wrap-up. I know that I haven't been here since November, but I did do some reading in November and I want to chat to you guys about it. So a bunch of these were read for the Buzzword Readathon, which had to do with numbers. The first one is Twice Bitten, Love in Vain, edited by Poppy Z. Brite. This is a collection of like gothic horror short stories, but I DNF'd this at 50%. I just couldn't. I didn't want to read them, and it's a total mixed bag. Like, some are good and then some are just really slow, and I was getting into a reading slump and I was just like, nah, this is my third time trying to make my way through, so this will definitely be donated to a local bookstore. So DNF for this one. And the next one that I have as a DNF is kind of controversial. It's Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I tried to read this, I could not get into it. One, too much tell and not show, too much exposition, too much description without any action, not enough dialogue. There's so many reasons why this didn't work for me. If a book doesn't grab me within the first 50 to 70 pages, then I'm like, I don't have time for you. I don't have time. So I'd rather just read books that I want to read. Ninth House was a DNF. So the first book that I read all the way through is 1,000 Rooms of Dream and Fear by Atiq Rahimi. This is following a student who wakes up in Kabul in 1979. He's been really badly beaten on his way home, and a woman who saw the beating take place has sheltered him in her house. Unfortunately, although it's short and I thought that it would be a piece of fiction that I've never read before, because I've never read anything from Kabul or from this perspective, I gave this 1 star. It was abysmal. Didn't have necessarily to do with the police beating. I understand that that's a part of the plot, but the way that this character interacts with the woman who saves him, and the way that women are described in here, and just some of the description that the main character uses towards other people was quite like dissettling and unsavory. So 1 star, don't recommend. So next up is slightly better. So this is a 2 star and it is the Erratics by Vicki Laveau-Harvie. This is a nonfiction about Vicki Laveau-Harvie taking care of her ailing parents who live in Canada. So the author actually lives in Australia, I believe, and her parents live in Canada, and when her mom falls and breaks her hip, she has to go back and help her sister take care of her parents, clean out the house, which is like a hoarding situation. They realized that the mother had been like mentally manipulating and abusing the father, starving him essentially. So it's just like this whole convoluted, very like painful situation. However, I found this book so slow, and I also really didn't like the main character. I just didn't really connect with her and I really didn't like it. So I gave it 2 stars and we'll be donating this book. I have a massive unhaul that I'm gonna have to film because I have book jail, which is over in the corner over there, and all of these books have been in book jail. And the next one is perhaps the most painful one, and I gave it 2.5 stars, and this is Unbroken, 13 stories starring disabled teens. I loved the idea of it. I also loved the cover, which is absolutely stunning. The problem, though, is that the 13 stories run the gamut from DNF to 4 star, but the majority of them between DNF to around 2 stars, 3 stars. So there's very few in here that I actually really liked. So I'm just looking at like my little notes of what I took. So I had 1 3.5 and 3 4s, and the rest were 3 or below, which really like isn't that amazing. So some of my favorite stories in here had queer relationships or also perspectives that I'd never heard of before, such as a girl who is blind and she does tandem bike racing, which like blew my mind completely. So if this at all intrigues you, pick it up. You might have a different experience with the stories. but I usually have a hard time with short story anthologies anyway because it's really hard to get all of the stories to like work cohesively together. Alright, so the next few books are romances because I definitely needed some help because I was hitting some major slumps with all of those books that I just talked about. So the first one I want to talk about is Pretty Reckless by L.J. Shen. This had been getting like rave reviews and was on the Goodreads Choice Awards, so I was intrigued by it. The parents take in a boy so he can finish out his school year, so he's kind of living with the family. Him and the daughter have beef, and it goes from there. It's hate to love, but the beginning was so good, and that's why it gets 3. The end was so bad, and the plot was so contrived and so bad, so bad. So I gave it 3 stars. It was good, but then bad, but then overall like meh. The next romance I read is called Knotted by Pam Godwin. This one was on the list of like dark, questionable, very dark romances. And it intrigued me because it was like cowboy themed, which is something like I don't really read, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll try it. And it was actually really good. I gave it 3.5 stars. However, there is such dark content. Like the beginning of the novel opens with like rape and murder, and then incarceration, and then mental abuse, and then alcoholism, and then physical abuse. So like a lot happens in it, and also like questionable stuff happens throughout as well. So if you don't like dark romance or you can't stomach any of that kind of content, then I wouldn't recommend it necessarily, but the sex scenes were really, really hot, which come between the like 2 main characters, and also I loved the transition of the main character from the girl she was when she left town to the girl she is when she comes back to town. So yeah, if that at all intrigues you, do check it out. So the last romance I read is Brazen and the Beast by Sarah MacLean. This is Bareknuckle Bastards number 2, and I have not read number 1, so I just read it out of order. It drew my attention because I thought that it had like a sea theme, and it kind of does because the daughter's father is like a shipping magnate, and the main male character, him and his brothers run an illegal shipping operation, so kind of like they're smugglers. Anyway, the sister's family causes drama for the illegal shipping people, and then like there's tension between them, if that makes sense. So it was pretty good. I think it was like predictable, and also some of the language was repetitive, so it's not like my favorite, but the sex scenes were good, and there were a lot of explosions, and I just liked it. It was nice. It was a palate cleanser. So 3.5 stars. Okay, so I have 2 books left to talk about, and the next one is one that I again read for Buzzword Readathon. So this is The One by John Mars, and this one was brought to my attention by my aunt, who really, really liked it. And The One is all about this kind of matching AI system where it can find people's match based on their DNA. So we're following 4 different people's perspectives as they're trying to meet the ones that they are destined to be with. And some of the storylines were much more intriguing than others. Like the reason that I gave this 3.5 stars is because there was one in particular where a policewoman is matched with a serial killer, and you're not sure how their story is going to play out. And I was so invested and so intrigued. Was he gonna kill her first, or was she going to catch him first? And that alone is the reason why I gave it like at least 3 stars. I was so invested. I would have read an entire book if that had just been the single thread. But some of the other ones were really good as well, but they were definitely weaker in my mind. Overall, I gave this book 3.5 stars. It was okay. Some of it I found formulaic or pretty obvious, and some of it I found completely like off the wall, never would have happened, but I was there for the cop serial killer timeline. Okay, and the last book that I want to talk about is My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. I buddy read this with Jordaline from Jordaline Reads. She is awesome. You should go check her channel out. She likes horror, dark, creepy shit, just like I do. And this book was crazy and then also a letdown at the same time. So we start out kind of strong, where there's a couple and they like to kill people. Specifically, the wife likes to kill people and the husband likes to do what the wife wants to do. Kind of happy wife, happy life, only she's a serial killer. So very, very intriguing premise. But the problem is that as it goes along, there are so many kind of like plot holes that it was driving me a bit crazy. And also, like, I was predicting things that were happening and then they would happen. And I'm like, man, I wish that the author had set it up as a red herring and then it would have been something completely different. But I felt like a little bad because like with Jordan, as we're reading, I'm like, what if it's this? What if it's this? What if it's this? And then it kept happening. And I was like, oh my God, no, I shouldn't have said anything because that's like kind of annoying if everything I'm predicting is happening. But I think it was really good and I don't regret reading it, and it does stick with me because it's one of, I think, the only ones that I've read where the couple is so like devious and just honestly terrible, terrible people. But also they love their children, which is like such a weird, weird combination. So yeah, if that sounds at all intriguing to you, check it out. I give it 3.5 stars because I did have a lot of fun reading it and like a lot of fun trying to predict what was going to happen. And then also I had a lot of fun reading with Jordan because we both have very similar reading tastes with dark stuff. So yeah, that finishes up all the books I read at the end of November. Sorry, I've been gone. Almost have finished writing a book, so I'm really happy about that. I can't wait till it's over. I have so much anxiety. Oh boy. So yeah, I thank you all so much for watching my videos, and thank you so much to the new subscribers who've popped over here. And I love you all, and I will chat to you guys in another video soon.